we have been discussing the final part of the syllabus, and I have uploaded the final part of the uh, tudes for you all. Now, basically, now this is the extension of what we have done on mergers and acquisition. Corporate restructuring, we have been doing mergers and acquisition. Have completed the required contents of the syllabus. On corporate restructuring, basically, we have discussed last week as well, when the company is making continuous losses. So the continuous losses companies, how do you turn around to a company like a profitable venture? So that is basically corporate restructuring. So the turnaround of the companies, loss-making companies, or basically the net worth is minus. So net worth basically means shareholders share capital plus equity. So the equity comprises of several accumulated profits and reserves. Now, when the companies make losses, the accumulated profit becomes accumulated losses, right? So the losses, so basically you add share capital plus reserves, but when you have minus reserves, the accumulated losses, so the capital minus whatever the amount. So capital minus, now say for example, capital is 100, the losses is 150. So basically you have minus net worth. There is no any value of this particular organization. So such kind of organization, how do you turn around? We have discussed last week. How do you turn around the companies, profit-making companies? How to make ventures to make profits? So that is what we are learning under corporate restructuring, and I have given some important notes on that. This one, types of mergers. Now, vertical, horizontal is basically there are two, but if time examiner asks you 3 or 4, you have to write it down. Vertical, horizontal, conglomerate. The final one is concentric. So if the examiner asks you to write down types of mergers, what are the two types of mergers? So then you will have to write vertical and horizontal. If it is 2. If it is 3, vertical, horizontal, and conglomerate. If it is 4, these 4. Once the examiner tested 4 types. So these are the 4 types. So generally we go by 2. But conglomerate also kind of types of merger. Now horizontal merger we have discussed same line of business. Right? Same line of business. And the vertical means supplier to end user. So we have given some example as well. And conglomerate is basically, for example, say John Keys. We take John Keys is a conglomerate. So different line of business you get together. Different hotel sector, then transportation, then supermarket. So different lines like conglomerate. So backward and forward, that is a part of the vertical merger. If you take vertical merger, that is supplier to end user. You merge, you get together, supplier to end user. For example, now say the milk fresh provider entered into an agreement, or they merged with Cargills. What happened to this Port Malay and Cargills? That is a vertical merger, right? So the producer engaging with the end user. So then backward vertical mergers and forward, same thing, right? And amalgamation was another word for the conglomerate, another word for the combination. So it can be acquiring, it can be merger, either way, right? Takeover is anyway, it's acquisition. So there are 2 types of takeover, hostile and friendly. We have discussed what are the defensive methods, defensive mechanism for hostile merger, right? Hostile merger means you don't like to be acquired, like that, right? And also this word, spin-off, that is also important word. Just read it and keep in mind. Don't go by too much in depth. Only the literal meaning. Examiner has tested once this spin-off for 5 marks question. This is more than enough for you to write. And also I have given some benefits of merger, reasons for merger. This one, why companies getting merged? Why companies getting merged is this. Other things you can read it and remember the terms, that's all. Right? And this one, listing requirement we were discussing on the foreign firms, that is MCB board, multi-currency board, the requirement of listing multi-currency on the multi-currency board is this. Right? We have discussed US $10 million, remember that? $10 million is a requirement for you to be listed MCB board, that is multi-currency board. This is only for the foreign companies, right? State capital is in dollars or whatever the foreign currency. So you can list in Sri Lanka on MCB board. And that is, just keep in mind, someone can test you. And this one, we will same thing. This is the loan syndication too. Loan syndication means if you can't give whatever the loans to somebody or one customer, you get to then give. And I have written down some management buyout and leverage buyout as well. That is also very important two words in your exam. So basically, management buyout, leverage buyout means you acquire a company with majority funds are borrowed. Majority funds are borrowed. So that is leverage buyout. Management buyout means company is going to be acquired by the management. That is management buyout. So important two words to remember. Examiner has tested only the literal meanings for 5 marks each, but there can be a comprehensive type of question. So I have given you all these advantages and disadvantages of buyouts and everything. Just keep in mind, this can be tested, right? And management buyout also important words. This one. So the firm, not is a management buyout is a form of acquisition where companies existing managers acquire. See, so existing managers acquiring companies, right? So and also remember the advantages and disadvantages of MBA as well, MBU as well. So important note, right? Important tips for you all. And just to read. And this is also another terms I just wanted to give it to you, asset and wealth management. So possible questions can come on this. Right? The examiner has not tested this asset management and wealth management. We have separately studied wealth management and asset management separately, but if the examiner asks you question as one, wealth management is asset management are terms that are used when describing the process of management. The main name of the both wealth management and asset management is to grow wealth. Asset management was the service offered by the banks. Just keep in mind, so you, for 5 marks question can be tested. Right? Asset management, it's a part of the wealth management. So wealth is comprehensive meaning. Asset is a part of that. Right? Example. Again, that question type LBO, hostile takeover. These are the possible questions, right? I'll be doing a mock exam with you, 2 mock exam papers with you. These are the types of question examiner can test you. He has not been tested this kind of questions for a long time. This has been, we have done this post turn 4-3 again is coming. This is also another type of questions, possible questions. Just read it. I have given the answer as well. Right? We have done this. Remember the discounting factor. Where do we have this discounting factor? when we doing the project appraisal, we had it. Remember that when the project is going to be discounted, it has to bring all these cash flows in today's term. We are using required rate of return. So then if I want to acquire a bond or whatever, so what is my expectation? What is my expected return? That is required rate of return is similar to DCF, discounted cash flow. Discounting factor. We have done this in the class. So basically, if it is a company, cost of capital. Remember that. Cost of capital. If it is an individual investor, whether I should buy this bond or not, so my required rate of return. If it is a company, cost of capital. Cost of capital comprises two. What? Generally two. Equity and debt. We have also learned preference shares as well. And equity, how do you calculate the equity capital? Equity cost. Two methods again, dividend model and the CAPM, which is more important. And also the cost of debt, only the tax adjustment comes. And all these things, very important, examiner has tested, can be tested. We'll have to keep in mind, so the tips which I gave it to you are very much comprehensive, very much, you can't say, please don't ignore anything. Now these tips are contain all the required information only. There are some information for you to understand further. I have elaborated some text type notes, but that is for you to understand well. But don't ignore anything saying that this is not necessary, but everything is necessary in your exam. Examiner can test to any part of the syllabus. I have comprehensively covered this, and the requirement also fulfilled with these notes, right? And these are the types of questions, a possible question can come. I have taken these exams, some questions from a foreign exam. What is typically higher? This is the examination question and also repeated question from a foreign exam. What is a typically higher? Cost of debt or cost of equity? So the cost of debt, you know exactly how much you will have to pay. Cost of debt means what? For example, debenture. The interest is constant. Right. So yeah, now cost of debt is cost of debt basically debenture interest is confirmed. It is constant. So every 5 years or semi-annual or annual, you know how much you will have to pay. But now equity, what is the compensation for equity? For the shares? Dividend. Dividend is the return for investment in shares or equity. But you can't exactly say how much this year we want. It basically depends on your profit and the AGM. AGM means what? Annual general meeting. So you propose, you mean to board of directors propose, this time we are paying 1 rupee per each share. So you are there, they are shareholders. Then you can oppose to it. Why you have made such a huge profit, you pay why only 1 rupee? You can argue that. So you can refrain from voting. And it depends. Several methods, right? So important thing. And understand that that is important for you to have knowledge on this. Basically, the dividend cost is not known. Dividend cost is not known. You can't exactly say how much this year profit. You can't exactly pay. You can exactly say how much this time going to be our dividend amount. So then cost of debt is higher due to the inability of predetermining the cost, right? So we have learned this was tested once the examination question. Right? Cost of capital we have given you, and this is only the CAPM they have mentioned, but we have learned several methods, dividend models as well. Someone has tested both the methods. this is the CAPM. So the CAPM formula is basically we have. So CAPM formula, what is the CAPM formula? It's basically a risk-free rate plus beta within bracket market yield minus risk-free rate. So all these things we have learned in the class. Very important. Beta has to be given the market risk, market yield minus risk-free rate. If the examiner has not given these two, and examiner can give you risk premium. So generally examiners are given risk premium rather than giving two. We have seen that, but examiner can give you both. Right? So then you'll have to identify which one is relevant. So just go through all these notes, it's available. And this is special note. I thought that I should give it to you. It's more like general understanding. Efficient market hypothesis. Examiner has not tested this, but sometimes he can ask you a question on this. There are three types. There are three variants or three types of hypothesis. Efficient market hypothesis. Weak, semi, strong, and strong form. Just to remember, this actually has a link of, remember that we have done when you're doing the share security market line. There was a graph like that. So then he can connect that graph into this strong, weak, and semi-strong. Right? So just go through this note and keep in mind three types. And also these are the investors ratio. When you want to invest in shares or whatever, generally you calculate these kind of ratios. So we call this investors ratio. Why we call it investors ratio? Before you invest, you calculate what will be the return after your investment. So before you make the investment, you get to know what will be the return you will be receiving. This is a very important formula is price earning ratio. How long will you take? How long? What is the period? If I invest in this particular company, how long will it take for me to recover the investment? Payback period, very similar to payback period. People who are doing financial management, when the project appraisal, we also did some project appraisal, but we have not gone into in-depth. But in the in-depth, so you will be learning. So what will be the payback period? If you make an investment, how long will it for you to take to recover the investment? So it depends on the profit making of this particular project. Similarly, price earning ratio is very similar. When you invest in shares, how long will it take for me to recover the investment? Price earn karana kochchara kala it's the time, sir. The answer is the time. Price earning ratio. Price earning ratio. How long will it for me to take the investment to recover? That's the thing, right? So the price earning ratio. So price earning ratio, how do you calculate? Market price divided by EPS. What do you mean by EPS? Earning per share. Right? Now price earning ratio, right? Price earning ratio, how do you calculate price earning ratio? Market value divided by EPS. How to calculate the market value is given in the market value that is given. This is present market and JKS got to say what is the present market value like that. Right? So the EPS, how do you calculate the EPS? Earning per share. Earning per share. So how do you calculate the earning per share? Now earning per share profit after tax. So the EPS is earning per share. So how do you calculate the earning per share? Profit after tax. Profit after tax divided by number of ordinary shares. Number of ordinary shares. Why? Now this profit after tax of a company belongs to whom? Profit after tax of a company belongs to the two shareholders. Shareholders are the profit after tax. Which shareholders? Ordinary shareholders. Why ordinary shareholders? So what are the types of shareholders? Generally we have two, ordinary shareholders and preference shareholders. Preference shareholders basically like lenders. They have a commitment to pay whatever the dividend. So more like it's a kind of shares, but more like they are lenders. There are two owners of this particular company. They don't worry about what happening to the company. What they need is their dividend. That's all. So profit after tax divided by number of ordinary shares, please. Profit after tax divided by number of ordinary shares. Profit after tax relevant to whom? Belongs to whom? Ordinary shareholders only. So that we have number of shares of ordinary shareholders. Remember that EPS equals to the formula is profit after tax divided by number of ordinary shares. So then you have the answer is times. How long will it need to take to recover whatever the investment I made? Right? That is important. Now this forward price to earning means same thing, market share divided by earning per share, but expected. Now next year, what is your expectation? Next year, what is your expectation? Like that. Now see this example. Suppose that company is currently trading at 43. That is market share. Currently is trading share market trade and so presently trading at 43. And its earning over the last 12 months were 1.95. Earning, so the EPS, earning per share. Earning per share. Profit after tax divided by number of ordinary shareholders. 1.95. So the 43 divided by 1.95. Answer is 22. So 22 means what times? It takes 422 times for me to recover. Now, in the exam, you can be given two companies' price earning ratios. Companies දෙක price earning ratio එක දෙන්න පුළුවන්. Otherwise, you can be asked to calculate both the companies' price earning ratio, and the examiner can ask you which company you decided to invest. So the price earning ratio we discussed, that is investor ratio. Important ratio for investors, whether I will make this investment in this particular company or I should not. So that decision, for you to take that decision, this is important to calculate this price earning ratio. So if you are given two companies price earning ratios and examiner asks you which company you select to invest in. So which company you select? Basically, you select the lower price earning ratio. Why? You like to recover your investment soon. You like, as an investor, you like your investment to recover soon. So then you basically go for the lower one. So based on the price earning ratio, the viable investment option is to go for a lower PE ratio. Which one is lower, you go for that. So that's the recommendation, right? Aduma එක තමයි you have to select in terms of price earning ratio. These are the words I have given you for you to remember. Examiner can test you for 2 marks. That you have been given 10 questions, so multiple choice questions as well. Capital preservation of capital, investment strategy. Right? So I have while I receiving this, I thought of to give this kind of words. Remember, examiner has not tested. And capital protection is another word. Quantitative easing, I think you must be knowing this quantitative easing. This is not in Sri Lanka, but in foreign countries. So quantitative easing means purchasing of bonds, purchasing of government securities by the issuer. Now, Lanka take a venema, but we don't use this term, quantitative easing. If the examiner asks you quantitative easing, the meaning is purchasing of treasury bill and treasury bonds, government securities. Why? Now, countries like Japan and US also once did it, and Eurozone, and the people are investing, but they don't spend, right? So now our money will be investing in government securities. So when you want to purchase treasury bill, treasury bond in Sri Lanka, we'll have to invest. So whatever the amount we have savings, we will be investing. So then we don't have money to spend. But those countries, you know, Eurozone and Japan, interest rates are minus. Inflation is also minus. So they don't spend. There is no inflation. Interest rates are minus. So basically, government needs to spend more. Government needs to spend. Government needs people to spend more. So that's why they are purchasing back. They are buying back their whatever the government securities and give money to the public for them to spend. That is quantitative easing, right? Unconventional monetary policy in which the central bank purchases government securities. Again, they are purchasing. Now, generally, central bank issuing government securities, right? That's what actually happened. They need money. But in this case, what happened? On the other side, central bank purchases government securities from the public in order to lower interest rates and increase the money supply. Now see, that is important term. But they need money to be circulated among people. They need money to be circulated among people. So then tend to increase the money supply among people. So then they take money, they take back whatever the government securities which they have issued previously and giving money back to the people for them to spend. Right? That is quantitative easing. Right. And remember the market risk types. We have learned several types of risk. You can remember. Initially, we have discussed the two types of risk. What is this? Business risk and financial risk. Remember? Business risk is what? Business. Where do you have this business? How do you know that whether the company, this particular company is at business risk? How do you know? Just by looking at what? Profit and loss account or income statement. Now these things can be in question, right? For 2 marks. Whatever that we discuss in the class. So just keep in mind. So how do you know that when the company is continuous reduction of revenue, reduction of profits, it's basically giving an indication that this company is not performing well. So at a business risk, collapsing of the company's affairs. So the other risk we have discussed, financial risk. What do you mean by financial risk? You have more debt than the equity. So gearing is not good. More debt than the equity. Again in trouble. So where do you have this indication? Which statement gives an indication whether this company is at financial risk? It's basically balance sheet. So the balance sheet has more debt than the equity. Then one day you will be in trouble. Why? You have to honor these liabilities. You have to settle these liabilities in coming months, in coming years. So you don't have money to pay. So in trouble. You have more gearing. But we recommend you to go for debt as well. So there can be a question like this. So do you recommend? This question can be different types, but the essence is this. Now, do you recommend company to go for purely equity? Again, shareholders lagema salli දාන්න කියලා recommend කරනවාද කියලා can be a question. So what do you think? සමහර මිනිස්සු කැමති ණයට ගන්න නැතුව business කරන්න, right? There are people like that. They think that if you go for borrowings or bank loan, whatever, the additional burden one day we'll have to pay. If the company collapses, we'll be in trouble. We can't make payments. We can't. We won't be able to pay. Then everything will be in trouble. So they don't want to go for bank loan, even for expansion. There are people like that. But some people are going for bank loans as well. But you should have a balance of this. That's the important thing. Not excessive debt, not excessive equity like that. So you should have a balance of these two. That's the beauty of this. Now basically what happens is we recommend you to go for little debt as well. Why? When you borrow, you have a benefit. What? You have to make payment. That's true. The interest and plus you have to pay. But you have what benefit? If it is debt, you have a tax benefit. When you pay more, there is a tax deductible expense, interest expenses. So then you have a tax saving. So that's why we have learned debt capital. When you calculate the cost of debt, tax adjustment is needed. You have a tax benefit by going for bank loan or whatever the borrowing. So that is one. And there are other types of risk we have learned. So one is we discussed the business and financial. What are the other types of risk we have discussed? There is systematic risk and unsystematic risk. Remember? Systematic risk is what? Systematic risk is common to everybody. But unsystematic risk is for whom? Particular section of the crowds, particular section of the industry. That is unsystematic risk. Systematic risk can be avoided. No, you can't. Why? It is common to everybody. Unsystematic can be avoided. Yes, you can avoid. How? Through diversification. Don't put all bets into one basket. So different segments. So if something goes wrong with a particular industry, so you can earn from the other industry companies as well. So like that. So diversification. All these words, remember, diversification, right? So can be avoided. Which risk? Unsystematic. Now this risk is what? Equity risk, commodity risk, currency risk, exchange rate risk. Now we call these four risks are market risk. All these four risks are market risks. Now, if the examiner asks you what are the market risks, these are the four. There are four types of market risk. Equity risk, shares. Today you purchase at 10, tomorrow it is coming under 2 rupees. Then you will be losing 8 rupees. That is a risk you take by investing in shares. Interest rate risk. Today 10% you have make investment. On the maturity, you check the market to reinvest. So the market has come down interest rate 5%. You're losing it. Interest rate risk. You are exposed to interest rate risk. Commodity risk is not in Sri Lanka, but there can be a commodity risk as well. Gold price movement adversely to you. That is commodity risk. And currency exchange risk. It's very much important exchange risk. And we have learned to avoid or to mitigate exchange risk. The mechanisms. What are these mechanisms we call? Hedging mechanisms. Hedging. So risk mitigating techniques. Which risk? Forex risk. And we have discussed internal hedging and external hedging. So what are the external hedging mechanisms we have? Forward exchange contract, which is most popular. Then we have what? Options. Then we have futures. Then we have swaps. In Sri Lanka, we have swaps and forward exchange contracts, which are more popular than the other two, right? And we have learned these other two as well, options. Once examiner has tested one of the types of options. There are 4 types of options we have learned, and he has tested the one. And hedging techniques are basically to mitigate the risk. Which risk? Foreign exchange risk. Internal hedging mechanism, actually we are learning only for the theory part, but it is not practical. You can't practically implement internal hedging techniques, right? So the eligibility criteria for listing also we have learned. I have given a separate note. I just thought of recap whatever we have done. And now I have given you Dirisavi board. Dirisavi board. Then you have main board. It is here, Dirisavi board also. Then I have given you note on MCB board, that is multi-currency board. Empower board also I have given the note on that. We'll see whether it comes. These are the ratios, further profitable ratios. You know the accounting, and if you have done accounting, you must have learned this. Only thing in your examiner is not giving any formula to you all. So you have to keep in mind whatever the formula you need to apply. Right? These are the investment ratios. Before you go for investment, you calculate this as well. Now the valuation ratios, price earning ratio, how long for me to spend to recover this? Price to book value, that is another investor ratio. Price to book value, how do you find out? Market price divided by book value per share. How do you find out the book value per share? How do you find out the book value per share? It's basically net worth divided by number of shares. So what is the value of the company? How do you find the value of a particular company? It is basically the value of the company means shareholders capital plus reserves. That is the value of this particular company. සාමාන්‍යයෙන් මේ company කොච්චර value වටිනවද කියලා හොයන්නේ කොහොමද? If it is not listed, shareholders like capital plus reserves. That's all. That is the company's valuation, pure valuation. You can add whatever the goodwill, So goodwill is not recorded in balance sheet, but a balance sheet wise, the given figures, how do you ask to calculate how much this company is worth? That is shareholders capital plus reserve. That is the screen or the first sight valuation of this company. There are some valuation techniques I apply. We'll be learning later what are the valuation techniques as well. Basically, for you to acquire a company has to be valued by independent auditor, independent valuer. So then you have goodwill goodwill එකට යම් කිසි ප්‍රමාණයක් add කරනවා. එතකොට මොනවා litigation තියෙනවා ඒවා books වල record වෙන්නේ නැහැ. ඒවට අඩු කරනවා. It depends. Lot of techniques are there. But සාමාන්‍යයෙන් අපි ගත්තාම what is this company's valuation කියලා කියන්නේ if it is unlisted. Why I am saying unlisted? If it is listed නම් ඒ market එකේ තියෙන price එක it's available. The John Kills ගත්තාම you don't want to go for equity. Shareholders capital plus reserves ගන්න ඕනේ. Why? Market is there is a market valuation. It is listed. That share price is determined by how demand and supply. So then that market value, this market price is your company's value per share. Then you multiply whatever the shareholders or the issued share capital. This is your company's valuation. Then you add whatever the goodwill or whatever, it depends. But if it is unlisted, you don't have any value. Any what you call any published valuation, public valuation, but you are not listed. So then basically you go for equity plus reserves, right? So the book value per share means equity minus equity divided by number of shares. Dividend yield as a percentage. Dividend yield, basically you get dividend in investing in shares. As a percentage, this is how you calculate, as a percentage. And this is also important term, financial engineering. LBOs, we have Masonet's debt. Now remember that I have given this not Masonet debt. These are types of debt we have learned. A huge list I have given you in your tutes available. It's available, and I have explained the meaning of that. Asset-backed securities, mortgage-backed securities. We have done last week securitization. This was tested in your exam. What do you mean by asset-backed securities and mortgage-backed securities? Mortgage-backed securities is basically the housing loan, mortgages. Asset means anything, right? And these are the valuation techniques we have learned, and this is very important. This is a basic actual accounting subject, but someone can test you why. What is the relation? What is the relationship? Why you want to learn these valuation techniques? Since you are working in investment banking division, you undertake what? This is one of the tasks. This is one of your roles. Remember, I have given you note on roles of investment banking. Can you remember? If you can remember, this is one of your role. Valuation of companies, mergers and acquisition. So you basically undertake all this. So then you need to make a valuation. So generally you invite independent valuer to value. It's basically going to be audited. So it's an independent valuation. So then only the third party will accept that, right? Independent valuation. So for you to make valuation, you do what first? Diagnosis test. How do you call that? Due diligence, right? So diagnosis test is a part of the valuation. Due diligence is a part of the valuation. So once you do the due diligence, then you value the company for price earning ratio. And also remember that the techniques we are using company to value. Price earning ratio is one method of valuing company. And the other one is enterprise value to sales ratio. That is also new valuation techniques. Keep in mind, right? Don't go too much in depth. Why this is a exam? This is actually a accounting related techniques, is valuation techniques, right? Replacement cost is another one, and discounted cash flow, we have learned this. That is another method. We'll be learning this under valuation techniques, right? So then only thing, the requirement of Empower board is not given, right? So I have mail to them. I'll give it to you next week. So that is the only pending document I have to give it to you. So there are three, four requirements for invest. So you need to have fulfill in investing in MCB board, not MCB but in Empower board, right? Yes, Empower board. I thought I have sent it to them, but I think I'll send it to them. Rather than I read it to you, I will give you the note on that. So we can then. So then basically I have finished completely the syllabus, right? So with that, this is the final note that I wanted to give it to you. So I have finished everything of your syllabus content. So any questions you have so far? So we'll need to further clarify how is your studying now? You started, you have now this is September, you have October, November, right? You have November, your exam is in November. You have ample time for you to go through, but start it now. Don't wait until the last moment. So then,
so with regard to this, excuse me, one question. With regard to quantitative easing, in other countries, does the central bank buys assets of public persons?
generally, quantitative easing is basically relevant to the government securities only. Now, government securities only. Now, the central bank is basically not buying whatever the individual assets. So they can buy actually, then it has to be the government. So the central bank actually buys whatever the instrument they issue. So they are issuing only these government securities. So the government securities can be repurchased by the board bank, by the central bank. Is basically we call it quantitative easing. This has been there for a long time. An exam has not tested, but the foreign countries, they have started it again, buying back whatever the government securities they issue. The main idea is to give money to the public back for them to spend. So main thing, China, why they have issuing this, implementing a quantitative easing method, right?
So one other question. Now, last week we saw a news that central bank relaxes limits on maximum ownership in banks. Can you just elaborate on that? What it is, sir?
Generally, now any investor, there was a requirement. There is a cap for the shareholding of banks, or the commercial banks and specialized banks. That is 10%. So any person, if you have investment in either way, direct or indirect, you should not hold more than 10%.
Correct.
More than 10% of the banks. But why they have put this restriction before? So they don't want somebody to control these banks in any way. So they think that 10% is basically controllable stake. So somebody to control this 10%. So they don't want to actually go into this kind of bad situation. No one to hold this more than 10% of shareholding. But you had the option before this regulation direction come into effect with the approval of the monetary board. You can go whatever the limit. So there was a what do you call exemption. If you want, you can write to the monetary board and get it approval. Then you can acquire it. But now, since the government needs to relax this shareholding percentage of banks, so they have actually increased the cap up to 20%. Now this 15%, right? 15%, they have relaxed it. Now the main reason is, now you know they're under Basel III compliance. So banks need a lot of capital. Bank needs a lot of capital. So when somebody wants to put capital, there should be a percentage of shareholding. So if you are not giving any shareholding to whatever the banks, whatever the investor, they don't invest. Now, for example, recently investment made by IFC in a commercial bank. So then there is but there was a limitation that you can't have more than 10%. That is a restriction for them as well. And also another reason why the government has liberalized this restriction is to enhance the market, share market as well. Now, you know, there are banks, no banks can invest in shares in commercial banks. Why? They have a restriction of capital adequacy ratio. But that restriction is anyway there. So when your bank make investment in another bank, there is a capital charge. But that restriction has not been relaxed. That restriction is anyway there. So generally, commercial bank can't invest in NDB. They can, but there is a capital charge. They have to allocate the whatever the capital. So capital is more precious than the interest, interest yield. So then banks are reluctant to invest in other banks. Why? Due to this capital adequacy ratio maintenance. But this particular direction came into the effect because of the enhancement of the new capital. It is banks. Now, for example, now there are some restrictions. There were some restrictions that some companies, some institutions, the loan institution, IFC, World Bank, IMF, like they can go up to 20%. They can go up to 20%, but there was a restriction within a 10 years period. They'll have to bring it down to 15. And the specialized banks also, they can go up to like that. 20% can be held shares by these loan agencies, IFC or IDB and so on. So, but there was a restriction and they had to bring it down within 10 years time, 15%. But this is a relaxation of shareholding. But we thought that actually main reason why the government has put this restriction liberation due to the with the motive of enhancement of share market. So bringing more capital to the share market plus the bank's capital adequacy, some elevation to the bank's capital adequacy ratio. That's the main reason why the bank has put this restriction lifted. It's a good question that you raised. Any question you have? So this can be a question in your exam right now. What Chanakya has raised this question. Why central bank has or the government has relaxed this shareholding percentage of banks? Can be a question for 2 marks, right? So one thing is to have more capital infusion. Now, you know, now local companies, local banks, local institutions do not have money to inject. And local banks are in trouble to invest in other banks. Why? Due to capital constraints, capital adequacy ratio constraints. But if somebody comes from outside and have a big amount of capital, so why don't you allow them to have it? But we learned that 50% is the maximum minimum amount to have control of the companies. So then I will be starting the question papers with you all. now next week I'll be giving you all the financial market operations paper relevant questions to all. So then we can take some questions from that as well. And please go through these questions, the important questions. So initially we will be concentrating more on this investment banking papers. In the meantime, I have given some questions during the class. But if you see that you will face any difficulties in attempting this question, that is also we can discuss. Not all, but some questions. But these are direct questions relevant to your syllabus content, right? Now, do you have 2019 September paper with you all? So we thought of giving you some kind of confidence that actually this paper will not be repeated, but just to give a confidence that thought of starting this some questions with you all. Now, how do you feel that when you go through the question papers, and so you will be able to understand shall we do question number 8? Now, question number 8. Do you have this question paper with you all? Question number 8. I'm sorry, 2019 September. 2019 September. The latest question paper. And I thought of question number 8, which is the least answered question. This is the last question. Students are reluctant to answer this question. Now, I just wanted to give you this is the one of the easiest questions in your exam. It's common to all these exams. Shall we attempt this question number 8? The sub question 2. Central Bank of Sri Lanka recently announced a ceiling for commercial bank deposits using a reference rate of 1 T-bill. Now, there is no restriction now, right? This reference rate is be announced every quarter. I think, did we do this question? I think we have done this question, right, in the exam. But I wanted to do some changes relevant to now. I think last week we did it, or we just taken as an example this question. Did we do this question? I can remember that I have taken this question with you, but I can't exactly remember whether we have completed this question. So basically, there was no any restriction on treasury the what do you call this banks deposits now. They have removed it. Now, only thing by doing this question, I think I have taken up this question last week, but only thing remember is now this further assume that it is announced the following guidelines as well. Central Bank forecast during the succeeding quarter inflation to pick up. Now inflation is going up. So only thing remember, when the inflation is going up, for the interest rate also should go up. So when the interest rate going up in the future, do you invest short term or long term your money? It's basically short term. Why? ඉස්සරහදී interest rate එක උඩ යනවා නම් why should I block my money for long term? ඉස්සරහදී මට reprice වුණාම we can have it. We can have reprice. Now see, now what are the risks we have learned? So one risk is we have learned is reinvestment risk or interest rate risk. Now when you take this decision to invest in short term, you are exposed to these two risks. Interest rate risk. අද 108ට දාපු එක ඔයා හිතනවා ඉස්සරහදී 10ට යයි කියලා. ඉන්ෆ්ලේෂන් එක වැඩි වුණා. then මම 3 months තමයි දාන්නේ මේ FD එක. හැබැයි after 3 months what happens? 10ට යයි කියලා හිතපු එක වැටෙනවා අදටත් වඩා අඩුවෙන් 6යි. You are exposed to risk. Interest rate risk. හම්බෙච්ච එක හම්බෙන්නේ නැහැ. Then you are exposed to another risk, reinvestment risk. You have a reinvestment risk of reinvesting. Why? Interest rates have come down. So those risks are there. So only the important part is when the inflation is going up, interest rate also should go up. When the interest rate is going up, what will happen to the government securities? The examiner is not mentioning anything about. Now see this question, we will take all the relevant topics to this question. When the interest is going up, it is beneficial to the people who are invested in FDs. They can go for short term. මාස 6ක් ඇතුළත interest rate එක වැඩි වෙනවා නම් 2% වලින් මම 3 months වලට දාලා තමයි මාස 6කට දාලා ඊට පස්සේ මම වැඩි වුණාට පස්සේ ඈතට long term දානවා. But what is the repercussion? What is the impact of increasing interest rate for government security holders? If you have investment in treasury bill, treasury bonds, do you benefited by increasing interest rates or not? So what is the relationship we have discussed, the yield and the price? Negative. Yield and the price. So then interest rate is going up. Yield is going up. What happened to the price? Should come down. All these we have learned. Yeah. So the price has come down. So when the price has come down, you're losing. You're losing. So see now, who will be benefited by increasing the interest rate? People who have deposited short term. Right? Once they have reprice comes, they can have a better rate once the repricing, when at the time of repricing. Now, if you are holding the government securities, you are losing. Right? We have learned the relationship between the yield and the price is negative. When the interest rate is going up, price should come down. You're losing. So the balance. So there will be a losing part as well. Now, how do you connect this to inflation? So when the inflation is going up, also should go up the interest rate, that we know. So what is the impact to the exchange? Now, examiner can ask you this. Now what happened in the now what's happening in Sri Lanka? Interest rates are coming down. Now March exam also not held. Now this time is going to be held the 2 exams, but then all these year from March onwards we see interest rate in Sri Lanka is coming down. So this question is relevant. Now when the interest rate is coming down, you expect inflation also to come down. When the interest rate is coming down, inflation also should come down. Treasury bill rates are coming down. That is the indication of interest rates coming down. Every week, treasury bill rates are coming down. Right? From March to now, it has a 3% reduction of treasury bill rate. That's a huge reduction. So interest rates are coming down. Inflation is coming down. Sometimes inflation are fluctuating due to the food prices and all, but generally it should come down. So what is the impact to the exchange rate? Examiners not tested interest rate and the exchange rate so far. Now interest rates are coming down. Do you invest in shares? Interest rates are coming down. Do you invest in shares? Yes. Why? Interest rates are coming down. When the interest rates are coming down, people are not investing in shares, government securities. They don't make any investment in FDs. So So then what is the alternative investment opportunities they have? Share market. Generally, in the countries, interest rates are coming down, share market should go up. Why? People are moving. Now, for example, is now the US dollar rate, US dollar currency is coming down due to this corona factors and the election in US. Now the currency is getting weaker. US dollar currency is getting weaker. So when the US dollar currency is getting weak, so the benefit goes to whom? Gold, oil. So the gold prices have gone up like nothing, right? So the gold prices are purely gone up due to this dollar weakness. But the oil, of course, there are some production cut from OPEC that can be a reason, but dollar weakness is also one of the reasons oil prices to go up. People are moving from dollar to gold, dollar to oil, like that. So safe haven, we call it safe haven. So the people are moving to these commodities when the country's currency is getting weak. Right? So like that. Now, when the interest rates are coming down in Sri Lanka, we are experiencing now which is relevant to your exam as well. Interest rates are coming down. What will happen to the exchange? Exchange is depreciating. Why? Exchange rate is determined by demand and supply. Dollar supply, dollar demand. So the dollar supply, when you have more supply, rate comes down. So when you have the dollars, where do you have the dollars? So basically, we are expecting foreigners to come to Sri Lanka and invest in government securities. It's not happening. Why? Rates have come down. So when the rates have come down, why should I invest in Sri Lanka? They don't come. So when the interest rates are coming down, government security interest rates have come down drastically. So the investors also don't come to Sri Lanka. Why? Due to the low regime of interest rate. So then supply of dollars has come down. So the supply of dollars has come down, then we don't have much supply. But demand as it is, due to this import restriction, we have some import, but demand for the dollars is increasing, whereas supply has come down. What happened? Supply has come down, the demand has increased, obviously, it should go up. So there is a tendency of exchange to depreciate due to lower regime of interest rates. So why we dollar appreciation or the rupee appreciation at the moment, now it's 184.50 level. Now it has come down. Why? Due to the import restrictions. So the import, as long as if we have import restriction, there won't be any rupee depreciation. Right? We expect rupee to a little further go up, but due to this restriction, there will be no any dollar demand much for this essential good importation or whatever luxurious good importation. So then we can control the exchange rate by putting this import restriction. So understand the relationship. Inflation, interest rate, exchange rate, GDP growth, and all. Inflation comes down means interest rate should come down. Interest rate coming, you don't have much investors to come to Sri Lanka, foreign investors to come to Sri Lanka. Then you have shortage of dollars. So when you have less dollars, your exchanges tend to depreciate. So the exchange will be depreciated due to lack of foreign investments in government securities. Right? Why this exchanges depreciation? Due to presently imposed import restrictions. Right? That's the essence of this discussion. So all these are interconnected, which is relevant to your exam, right? So there won't be any interest rate hike before November. There won't be. And government needs to. Why the government has decided to bring down the interest rate? They need to pump more money to the lending for development. So when the interest rates have come down, when the borrowing costs have come down, then only investors tend to borrow from banks at a lower rate. So then the credit growth has not as much as expected level, but government intention is to have more credit to development purpose doing it. So interest rate will further come down in coming months or remain as it is. So then we'll have to think about all these fundamentals are interconnected. Now GDP growth is also coming down now. Now first half year we have recorded the 1.6 minus. Now in US it is 9.5% reduction half year. UK it's 20% reduction GDP growth minus growth. And India it's 24% minus growth. Right? China is only recorded the positive growth. I don't know the figures, but they have recorded 3.2% positive growth during this first half year. Now we expect at least to have a break even to 0% towards the year end. So we will expect 1.5% plus. It depends. So all these things we actually now last year we had 2.3, 3.2. We had 3.2 GDP growth, but this time we won't be having that. Well, so there will be a GDP reduction. So GDP growth reduction, right? So then again, when the country is not performing well, when the country is whether the country is performing well or not, how do you determine based on the GDP growth? So when the country is not performing well, other sectors are also not performing well. So generally, GDP growth has coming down means not going to not good for anything, right? So then the tendency is like that. But understand the fundamentals, the interconnected the relationship between these fundamentals is very important, right? Inflation, interest rate, exchange rate, and all those things, right? Important, right? Right. Shall we turn to question number 3? Your client, Mr. Amal, is considering investing in equity market. Now we will be trying to learn everything. Equity market means share market. He has identified 2 stocks. He's going to invest in 2 shares. XYZ and ABC. Both are similar companies, Ekama company, in the same industry. Ekama industry. Company XYZ has a beta of 0.6, below 1%. Not much aggressive. Remember, if it is more than 1, we have told, we learn more aggressive. More than the performance is more than the market performance. Right? Remember, we discussed in the class. And a stock ABC has beta of 1.5. Is more aggressive. Both the stocks have a positive correlation. To the market due to the recent positive policy announcement. Due to the recent positive policy announcement, stock market is expected to perform positively with the expected economic growth. Now see, when the economy is growing faster, when the economy is going better, generally other sectors also performing well. Example is this. Now when the GDP growth is higher, when GDP is increasing, share market is also increasing. But in Sri Lanka, we have not seen that. Why? GDP growth is not in Sri Lanka but around the globe. It's common to all the global countries, all the countries in the world. It's common. GDP is not going well. GDP rate is not going well. But there are some positive steps government is to be taken on the development of capital market. So the capital market is what? We have learned several markets: money market, capital markets, commodity market, foreign exchange market, like that. Remember, the capital market is long-term funding. Money market is everything will finish within 1 year. Treasury bill, commercial papers, repo, like that. Here, shares, debentures, treasury bond, and all. Why? The long term, more than 1 year. So that is capital market. Development of capital market is I mean, there is a separate minister for the capital market development, right? So then there will be a hike in the capital market, not due to the economic growth, but due to other factors. Assuming Mr. Amal is a risk-taking investor. So risk-taking investor. How do you advise him stock picking? Which stock is to be picked? Further assume Mr. Amal will be investing in either stock Which one do you recommend to invest? Which one do you recommend? Now, 0.6 beta means what? Market එක යන තරම් ඒක යන්නේ නැහැ. 1.5 means market එකට වඩා perform කරනවා. Now, what will happen when the positive statement comes? What will happen? What is the future of the share market? It's a positive. So going up. So what are the two indices we have in the share market? We have ASI, All Share Price Index, and the other index is we have S&P 20, right? Those are the two indices we have at the moment share market. And also remember the boards we learned: main board, Dairy Savi board, and we have learned MCB board, and I'll be giving a note on Empower board, the eligibility requirement only, right? Empower board, and we have learned default board as well, right? And I have to give you the content when we're doing the question. We will have continuous listing requirement. Now, we have learned the listing requirement. If it is a new company, what are the listing requirements to be listed? So once you get listed, also you have to comply. That is, we call it a continuing listing requirement. In your exam, examiner has not tested that question, but financial market operation papers, yes. So there's a high chance of testing. Continuous listing requirement. If it is a new thing, so we have learned these are the listing requirement for you to be listed as a new, but existing you'll be learning. Now, which one you select? Now, market is going up. You know, Hyundai market take Hyundai, not it's performing well. The beta now depending on the beta, which one is more aggressive? 1.5. So you risk taker, right? Amal is a risk taking investor. So which one do you recommend? Which one which has higher beta? Why? It's performing well than the market. Very good. So risk taker. Now it's very now it's a 5-mark question, easy question. So only one thing. So you have to remember. So beta is what? We have learned this. So if it is 1, if it is more than 1, if it is less than 1, we have. That's the only thing you have to learn. Lengthy type of question. All other information are irrelevant, not relevant. ABC beta is 1.5, which is more than 1. So more aggressive. It is going faster than the market going up. Market is anyway going, but this ABC share, which is 1.5 beta, is going more than the market. Market is also going, but more than the market, so you are benefited. So risk taker, and everything is perfect there. So then, just one sentence: why you select ABC? Just higher just higher beta, which is more aggressive. Or you can say this ABC share is performing more than the market performs. So this is the answer. It's a 5-mark question. So very easy questions, right? Examiner ask you the last question, and this and same question can be asked given what P ratio. Same question. They're giving ABC XY is a P ratio given. One thing is 4 times, other one is 10 times. Which one you select? Same question. Same type of question. Which stock you select? Which is the lower period. Why? The period or the time you spend to recover your investment is lesser. So you go for lower PE ratio. So that's the answer of this, right? Right. Question number 4. Mr. Ranjan is the financial controller of leading conglomerate. According to the company's strategic plan, company needs to raise funding for its expansion within next 6 months. Now see, company needs to raise funding for its expansion. So what are the methods you have to raise funding? So now we will not confine to the questions only, right? We'll be discussing further questions it can arise, right? So then we can cover entire syllabus when you're doing the question. That's the important part. Rather than doing, you can have these answers also. No? There are answers are available. So rather than taking this question, now see what are the methods available and which is important for when you write down, when you think that it is important, right? Now the question is the company needs to raise funding for its expansion. So what are the methods we have to raise funding? One thing is share capital, share increase. So you can ask shareholders to put money. There are two types. Now see, you can invite existing shareholders to come, or you can ask new shareholders to come. So if it is existing shareholders, what do you call it? It's a right issue. If you ask new shareholders to come, it's going to be new shares. So not IPO. Why? Initial public, not this is already existing share. This is already existing company, not an IPO, right? Don't say IPO. IPO means not listed, not issued share, new one. Initial public offering, right? So you can ask existing shareholders to put or new shares to put. So what are the other methods? That is capital. How to raise money? You can go to the bank and ask bank loan. What else? Debenture. So those are the methods you have to raise funds, right? Mr. Ranjit has two options: the issue new shares by through initial. Now, why they have recommended to go for IPO? This is a company. Why do you want to now say I told you not an option to issue IPO. Now I have not read that latter part, but without reading only I have told you not to go for IPO. But they are recommending to go for IPO. Why they are recommending to go for IPO? What do you think? This company has not issued shares. So if it is issued shares, can it be IPO? You can't. Initial public offering, you can't. If it is issued shares, you can't have this. Right? Can't have this. IPO means you are not issuing, you have not issued shares to the market still. So then now this company is similar to that. That's why they have recommended to go for IPO. Okay. Or issue long-term debt instrument. What do you mean by long-term debt instrument? Tell me the word for long-term debt instrument. One is debenture. Yeah, debenture, and the other one is corporate bonds. Right. That is also very similar to debentures. But if the examiner asks you what are the two types, you can write down corporate bonds, right? Not the treasury bond. Treasury bonds are issued by the Central Bank of Sri Lanka on behalf of the government. But corporate bonds, yes, corporates. Further, it is expected that the government will increase corporate tax rate in the coming budget. Okay. Both equity market and the debt market have the liquidity for the type of instrument to get fully subscribed. What do you mean by that? So people have money. මිනිස්සුලඟ සල්ලි තියෙනවා, shares මේක issue කළත් shares වල දාන්න, bond එකක් issue කළත් debenture එකක් issue කළත් debenture එකක් දාන්න. That's why it says liquidity. You have liquidity. Now remember that when we discuss the government securities, one risk is liquidity risk. Remember that we have discussed. So liquidity risk is you want to sell, but people are not there to buy. That's a liquidity risk. People are not buying. Sometimes they don't want to buy, sometimes they don't have money to buy. They don't have liquidity. People don't have liquidity to buy. They don't want to make any investment. Why? They are shortage of liquidity, shortage of money. So liquidity risk. Now what? Now people have more liquidity. The market have liquidity for the types of share instrument to get fully subscribed. Now, what do you mean by fully subscribed? More than the requirement. More than the requirement. I showed it to you. I have not shown it to advertisement, right? I showed it to advertisement, but recently we have not seen any debentures. Fully subscribed means you want to raise 100, but people have put application 150. So fully subscribed, right? Based on the information provided in the question, what would be the best strategy for Ranjan to raise funding for the company? What do you think? What is the hint for you to decide it is shares or debenture? So what else? What else the question gives us to make a decision whether either shares, either this. Now shares, we discussed shares cost is higher than the debt. Why? Debenture cannot be predicted before. Dividend is the compensation for the shares. Interest is the compensation for the debenture. When you issue debenture, you have what benefit? Tax benefit. Now, what is the intention of government? To increase the tax. So when you increase the tax, you have to pay more taxes out of your profit.
Okay.
Out of your profits. You have to pay more tax. So then to avoid the more tax, what do? You have to bring down the
Profit.
Very good. You have to bring down the profit. So you have to bring down the profit, but you include more.
The interest expenses.
Good. You have to have more interest expenses. You have to have more expenses. Now here, interest expenses. Then you should bring down the taxes. You should bring down the taxation to pay to IRD. Then you have to bring down the profit as well. So bring down the profit to pay the lesser taxes. So then you have to include more expenses. Here the expense is interest expenses. So then you recommend to issue what then? Obviously what?
Debenture.
Now see, it's a 5-mark question. How long do you take to think the answer? It's only 2 minutes. Nothing. When you read this question, you have the answer. So then don't forget to answer this question number 8. It's only 1 sentence or 2 sentences. It's more than it is available in the answer as the answer is available in the question. So that's the beauty of this kind of question. I just wanted to encourage you to attempt this question. So I know over the last years have been seen that the least answered question is question number 8, but the most easiest question in the exam is this, right? So then it's only a few minutes. It won't take now the 5 minutes. You can at least have more than 10 minutes. 10 minutes. You have 1.5 minutes to answer this question. You have 180 minutes. So take 180, 100 marks. Then 1.8 we will read. For reading we will accumulate at 0.3. Then you have 1.5 minutes. It won't take 1.5 minutes. It won't take for each mark. The 5 mark, how much? 7 minutes. It won't take. It's only a few marks. Only 5 marks you can collect easily with no meaning. So attempt this question. It's a very important question. So the answer is actually you should issue what? The debenture. Why? You should have the tax benefit, fully utilize the tax benefit. So that is important. Taxable. Now this interest expenses can be deducted from the profit. So that's the benefit you have, right? And also you can write it. A cost of equities cannot be determined before, but here the expenses can be determined. Then the tax benefit, the expectation is to have tax benefit. That's important, right? Mr. Ranjit should choose issue of debt instrument to finance. What would be the best strategy? Best funding. So understand the funding strategies as well. It's also important. We have been learning this stuff, right? If it is, remember that now he is decided to go for shares, IPO. What's the repercussion there? Even now if he leaving that tax benefit, he has decided to go for shares. So what is the implication he has? So one thing is what he has to give shares to somebody else. So what happened? So when you give shares to somebody else, what happened? Which one you're losing? Your control is losing. So the ownership is diluted. So you were the shareholders. You were the owner of this particular company. Now I am going to invest. Why? You are inviting me to invest to IPO. So I'm investing. So my money put, and I become a shareholder. Then I will have two, you and me, two shareholders. So the ownership is diluted, and also the cost of equity is higher. Cost of equity is higher. So the expenses little higher than the issuing debenture, and the listing requirement, or the if it is going to be listed, listing requirement is quite contingent. Now this debenture is not going to be listed. Now shares, if you are going to list in the share CSC, so it is costly. It is costly. So this now to avoid, now somebody can say, right, debenture වලටත් අපිට prospector එකක් ගහන්න ඕනේ නේ shares වලට වගේ එකක් costly නේ කියලා. Debenture can be issued as a private placement. Shares උත් පුළුවන්. But here they are mentioning IPO නේ. Debenture, they are not mentioning anything, right? It's a listed කියලා මූත් කියන්නේ නැහැ. It can be a option is to go for private placement. No cost. There is a cost, but very little cost. You don't want to print prospectus, you don't want to put advertisement, you don't want to put anything. If it is private placement, I just privately am telling you to invest. Rating is not needed. Now you are asking me to invest. I am the general public. So how do you invest? How do you know whether your company is good or bad? Rating. So all these costly. So you can avoid everything by going for private placement. Now all these things can be questioned in your exam. Do you recommend to go for public? Do you recommend to go for private placement? Why? This is the question I gave you the answer for that question. Right. So I just wanted to give it to you confidence that 2019, this is the paper, right? You get. You can easily pass the exam. So you don't worry about the passing the exam. But only thing, you just concentrate whatever the things we have given to you. Right. So then we will be continuing from next week. We will continue the question papers from today onwards, right? So any question you have now? So then thank you very much for being with us. We will meet up next week, right?